Mother's Day, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. As a mom, 2 kids, raising kids or raising them with my husband is one of the most profoundly challenging, meaningful, humbling, and rewarding thing I have done and still continuing to do. Whether you are a teenage mom, a middle-aged mom, a full-time mom, a part-time mom, or an adopted mom for that matter, what drives you and sustains you as a mom? What drives your parenting style? Have you ever thought and reflected why you wanted children in the first place? Yes, why you want children? Genesis 1:8 says, God commanded us to have children in His desire that we be fruitful and increase in number. However, Deuteronomy 6 and Psalm 78 expand on the Genesis instruction. I don't know if you know that. The Deuteronomy 6 and Psalm 78 expand on the Genesis instruction by telling us that not only are we to love the Lord, but we are also to raise children who will love the Lord and obey His commandments. You can certainly check this out, okay, and reflect on this. In short, the Bible says, having kids is not about me. It's about God. Personally, I always wanted to be a mom since I was a little girl. And finally, it became a reality when I married my wonderful and cooperative husband, Ezer. So when Annika was born, okay, I bought and read a lot of how-to books about parenting and being a good, excellent mom. Like, I don't know if you heard a book like The Baby Whisperer, 12 Ways to Raise a Confident Child, 7 Habits of Happy Kids. Then lately, I came across an interesting book with an interesting title, How to Hug a Porcupine, Negotiating the Prickly Points of the Twin Years. Yes, there are a lot of books, how-to books out there for every stage of your child development. And I was so obsessed with it, simply because I really love my kids.
I love you too.
I want her, or I want my kids to be the best that she could be, and want her to be a successful one, and I be too a successful parent. Well, are the success of my children the ultimate measurement of my success as a mom? But what if she or our children fail us? What if they don't fulfill some of our parent expectations as mothers? After all the love, the money and the time and the sacrifices we made. And furthermore, what about those moms who gave birth to a developmentally challenged child or children, either physically or mentally? Those moms who will realize that they will be raising an autistic kids or disabled child all their lives. What about those moms who have lost a child early on. As you can see, the struggles are real out there. There are unanswered prayers. We live in a fallen world. We are born a sinner. So we are not perfect, and so are our children. It is in those circumstances that we need something more eternal to see us through the challenges of motherhood. The why of motherhood and its implications. Answering the why shapes the how-to. Most of the how-to books I read focus on purifying the children. If motherhood is just behavior modification, Jesus would have praised the Pharisees and thrown dirt on the adulterous woman, right? The Apostle Paul gave us a clear why of parenting. It's found in Corinthians 7:1. Well, at first, this might not sound like a parenting verse. And in context, it's not. But as a mom, I consider this one of the most helpful verses on parenting in the entire New Testament, considering all the challenges I have faced or encountered as a mother, and some challenges that some of my friends share their experiences as struggling moms, parenting imperfect children. So 2 Corinthians says, 7:1, Dear friends, let us purify ourselves from everything that contaminates body and spirit, perfecting holiness out of reverence from God. Paul first tells us to focus on purifying ourselves, not our children. Personally, I have always been tempted to focus on purifying my kids, that often I neglect my own personal growth. Parenting, as you can see, is like following instructions in an airline emergency. As you remember, for those you who fly on an airplane, there's always that instruction. Before taking off, every plane passenger is instructed, if the oxygen mask comes down, parents should put their mask first before attending to their kids. Why? Because in an emergency, kid needs their parents to be able to think clearly and act effectively. Without adequate oxygen on the brain, parents can neither do both. Then our kids who are dependent on us suffer. What's true in airline emergency is true equally on the ground spiritually. If we neglect our spiritual oxygen, our walk with God, our ability to spiritually discern, encourage, confront challenges to raise our kids will be weak. Well, how-to books are fine, I have benefit from these books that taught me how to shape and improve my relationship with my children. But what sustains me to see me through challenges of being a mom, like when you have a colicky child who cries all night long, those terrible twos when they start throwing tantrums. And if you're a single mom, why do you keep doing it amidst all the exhaustion that felt like you have a ton of bricks on your back? Then these children become teenagers and they start talking back and reason. And because you raise really smart kids, they really reason logically too. Yes, smart, but there are also times that they get into troubles because they didn't listen or obey you. Under those circumstances I mentioned, what do you do? How do you react? Is it with anger, bitterness, regret that you give birth to them? And how about those who give birth to physically or developmentally challenged children? Or those parents who have chronically ill children? If you are that mom, would you abandon them because you are so tired of taking care of them and they were not what you expected them to be? Oftentimes, as a mom, I am so anxious to get out of a difficult, painful, or challenging situation that I fail to grow through them. Through our children, God can teach us or cultivate character God. The cultivate character God, what is trying to grow in us. Motherhood challenges are spiritually growing pains, a call and a part of God's plan to perfect me. Mind you, being a mother gives me sheer joy and meaning in my life. But I cannot ignore the fact too that as a mother, I have personal struggles and challenges. And so are you, moms or parents as a whole. However, when I realize that having kids is not about me, but is rather about God, then the trials, challenges, and sacrifices are more easily borne. Okay, purifying myself takes beyond the physical sins of substance abuse, physical abuse, foul language, and so on, and into the hidden contamination of anger, frustration, bitterness, resentment, control, and possessiveness. I cannot tell you how many times I have to confront my spiritual sins that others don't see because they are not living with me. Or spiritual sins I never knew I existed as I tried to purify my kids in the process. A lot of my co-workers and patients think I am sweet, patient woman that does not get frustrated. Yeah, right. The real test of character, patience, and unconditional love is when nobody is looking and when there are tough decisions to be made, whether to love unconditionally and accept with joy and gratitude, or whether to reject and confront situation with bitterness and resentment. It is the grind of everyday challenges of raising imperfect kids or imperfect adults. Well, adult children also can disappoint mothers, either by the choice of their spouse or the way they raise their own children. There is always something. Confronting our hidden sins of anger, frustration, bitterness is hard and humbling. And why should we do it? Paul couldn't be clearer. We do it out of reverence to God. Yes, indeed, raising children, whether for the right or superficial reasons, is one of the most influential aspects of spiritual formation. Perfecting holiness or godliness, as the Apostle Paul mentioned in 2 Corinthians 7:1, is an ongoing process. As a mom and a fallen sinner, I am a work in progress, and I will never achieve the fullness of holiness until the return of Christ. But in the meantime, I will allow challenges of motherhood to mold my character, rub off the smudges, letting Christ's Spirit shine through me as much as possible. Our spiritual quest should drive our role as a mom. This gives the challenges of motherhood a new meaning and purpose, even the difficult ones. Fellow moms or future moms, who wants to have children someday, we can do all of these things with Christ who strengthened us. We can let the challenge of motherhood glorify Christ as He molds us to be more like Him every day. I praise God for motherhood.